Welcome to Land Speed Legends, a podcast talking to the men, the women, the legends that make land speed racing great. Discover the stories of these ordinary people whose passion for land speed racing has made them legendary. And now, here's your host, the Bonneville Belle, the High Boy Honey, the Salt Princess, Allison Volk Dean.
All right, today we have the legendary Allison Volk Dean on this podcast, on her own podcast. If you don't know who I am right now by my voice, I am Megan Volk. I am Allison's niece. So I have the honor for her 1-year anniversary of starting this podcast to interview her and get her side of the story, since you guys have heard everyone else's side of the story. So let's start. Hello.
Yes, thank you. It's kind of different being in seat number 2 over here, but yes, I feel nervous and like, I don't know if I can do this for as long as everybody else does, but I'm going to do it. My guests do it, I can do it.
Exactly. I mean, everyone that goes out to the Salt Flats can talk about the Salt Flats for hours.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So we'll just start where me going out there from the beginning.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I would love to hear your beginning stories because you've been going out since you were a baby, right?
Yeah. Yeah, since I was born. I don't remember going out as a baby, but I just remember going out. I mean, really, my biggest memories probably start in elementary and junior high of what I remember, and just running around with a little crew out there. We thought we like ruled the school, and I hung out a lot with the Vescos, Summer and Ronnie and Calvin, and Mikey Cook. I hung out a lot with him. And I'm sure I'm forgetting others, but we would just run around. We'd have so much fun even afterwards when we'd go back to the hotel, and we'd just hang out and hang by the pool. But these are people that I kind of just grew up with. And I've told this story before on the podcast, but, hanging out in the pits at the Vescos, it was just like, this is, Rick, this is Summer's dad and Summer's uncle, who was kind of like just always crazy and fun and always had weird jokes and had this dog named Sideways. It was like, I swear it was like had one eye, and I don't know. It was just, but yeah, we would just run around. We'd run around the pits. We would run around. I remember, being in line a lot, just waiting for cars to go. I remember, this is such a horrible story, like the black stuff that goes around the windows of the cars. I remember me in summer one time, it was so hot, it was just melting, and we just picked it all off and made like fake nails out of it. I'm sure whoever found that afterwards was like, what did they do? But just, we just, we would run around. We'd always be like, we're cruising the pits. We'd take our bikes. And as the pits got smaller and smaller, we'd be like, we're cruising the pitiful pits, as they got smaller and smaller.
You just felt like you ruled the pits.
I think we did. I don't think we did. I think there was lots of kids out there, but we had our little crew that we hung out with. And and we would help a lot. I remember we'd set out cones and we'd pick up a lot of cigarette butts at the end of meets at USFRA meets. And and even when I was littler, I just remember always like taking chunks of salt and like licking them. So gross. But
I think that's a rite of passage when you're a child out on the Salt Flats.
Just take a chunk of salt off like the wheel well and just like lick it. And you're just like, oh gosh, that's so gross.
You first realize this is edible and you're like, if I can eat it.
Plus our family loves salt. Like we put salt on everything.
Everything. It's a Volk thing. I mean, when you've been going out to the Salt Flats for this long, I think you just have it in your blood at this point, literally.
Salt, yes, literally. We have it in our blood. Yeah. And so, I remember doing all that and meeting new people and talking to them and writing to them and
writing to them.
Yeah. Like there was a, oh my gosh, I can't remember his last name, Chad in Canada. And and he was a friend, and we would write back and forth and and then
fun.
See each other. Yeah. Just see each other out at the salt. So it was fun. We had a lot of good memories out there. And some of the cars that I always remember is like the Raspberry Rocket, and those Rocklets are boys. They were a little bit older than us, but we always thought, me and Summer always thought they were so cute. This is how we rolled.
Of course.
And so, but I liked the Raspberry Rocket because it was pink, like,
of course.
What's not
It's
like
a little girl out on the salt sees her first pink race car.
Yeah. And so, and that was kind of fun. And of course, even growing up, like with Tom, I loved Tom when I was little. I always was like, I want to marry Tom Tom Birkland. I'm talking about Tom Birkland when I say Tom, sorry. And I always remember being like, I want to, he'd come down to our house or whatever and be like, I want to marry Tom. I was just like this little girl because he was so nice and fun to me. And
he already liked racing.
Yeah.
So
it was a perfect fit. Oh, and that's another thing, like bringing boys out there when you're dating. It was a real litmus test on whether this relationship was going to last or not, whether they kind of blended or not.
Right.
So
no, exactly.
That was the few boys I took out. I was like, yeah, you pass, you don't pass. Sorry.
That is so true.
If you can't make it on the salt, you can't make it with me.
It's such a different culture. Well, this is one big community out here. Mm-hmm. Everyone is family. You just have your salt family out there.
Yeah. It is your salt family, even if you don't really know everyone. You know them, a lot of the people, but yeah.
Or you learn to know them. So like you and the Vescos out there and stuff, that was your salt family. You look forward to hanging out with them it's like your cousins, you get excited to meet your cousins and see them. What was the difference back then on how big like the community was versus now? Yeah.
So it definitely felt, I don't know if Speed Week almost felt more like how the USFRA World of Speed feels. Like it was just, they were just smaller meets, and they just really, it really didn't explode like it did until the World's Fastest Indian came out. And then that's when it kind of like it was always big. I think, it's always car people. It's always their like kind of goal to get out there. But I think the World's Fastest Indian really put a spotlight on how great it is and the community out there and what it's like. And people were attracted to that, and they sought that, and they wanted to be a part of it, which I don't blame them. And so that's when it really exploded, and you saw all of a sudden like the casino car show pop up. That wasn't always a thing during Speed Week, which I love it. It's great, like new, or even at some point there was even at the bend of the road, there was bands playing and like live music, and I know we don't stay at the bend.
I didn't get to.
Apparently, the bend of the road is a real party. We don't get a. So. We stayed in the hotel, but we stay at the hotel. But it really, I think, just showed how awesome land speed racing is. It really did explain how it was.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
cool.
I think it was a realistic.
Like representation,
of the salt. So
I didn't think about that and how that would have helped contribute to everything. So
it really did. It really was a big difference between before and after that came out, which is great because it shines a light on how important it is.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, exactly. And what it means. So
yeah. Well, when did you start driving?
I probably started driving in like 2001, I think. Probably when I was like 23, or that's really when I kind of started getting some seat time.
Because you had to wait for my dad to finish up.
Yes. Your dad took a while. But before that even, there was, we had a little 32 Roadster that Bob Elbert owned. And that's what I kind of licensed up a little bit into. And it was just a fun. We'd run it on the short course. I think it had like a little Chrysler engine. I think your dad eventually blew that engine up. I think they put that engine in the other one, and he blew it up. But we it was we just ran on the short course on that. It was an easy car to run.
And that was just licensing.
That was I licensed up in that, I think, and just a couple of licenses. Maybe my C. I don't even think my B. No, because I think my B I got in the I don't know. I got in the 29, the high boy.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and I had to wait for your dad to get in, and he, you know, they finally got it like figured out and tuned in, and they really had this, they had it down at this point.
Yep.
And so he gets in 2000, and I think
I think he got in 2003.
2001.
Oh, so it was okay. Yeah.
I think he got in 2001, and I wasn't there. I don't think I was there for when he got in. I remember when my brother Patrick got in, though. I remember being like in somebody's car. I think I remember being in Rick Vesco's car, and Rick was like, "Looks like your brother got in the 2 Club," and I was like, "Yes." And I just remember like Rick turning back and saying that because he heard it on the radio, and he still had to go through tech and everything, but our inspection had to go back to impound and get it all checked out. But he did get in, and.
Right.
But then, yeah. So anyways, to back up. So I got in 2003.
Okay.
And I got in the 59, the 29 high boy roadster.
Yeah.
And it was running A gas at the time. And yeah, we just had like a big block Chevy in it. And I think Dallas's record was 231 is what he got in on the club. And I got in on 236, but it took me a couple of times. They really did have it all dialed in, so it was pretty easy. I ran down, and I qualified on my A license. I was getting my A license, and I qualified on my A license.
Best case scenario.
I know, best case scenario. And so then you're all nervous, and you have to sleep all night, and you get all
you don't sleep.
No, yeah, you don't sleep that well. And then you go and it was crazy when I was trying to get my record. There was just people everywhere photographing. Like it was hard for Jeff to even buckle me in the car. Jeff Nash was, he was trying to get me buckled in, and it was just hard. It was just, and it was all just exposure because I was 23. I think I was 23 at the time. I was 20. Maybe even, I don't know, 24 or 25 maybe at the time. So I was the youngest girl to get in the club at that time. And yeah, it was kind of hard. But on my record run, the cable throttle broke. And so they push me off, and I'm not even to the mile marker yet. And I just goes flat down, and I'm trying to get off.
It's not accelerating or anything.
No, it just drops. Like the pedal just drops. And I'm trying to get off, to get off. And my dad and Jeff are in the push truck on the side of me going, "Go, go, go." And I'm like, "I can't go."
They're like, "Why are you not going straight?"
Yeah, they're just like pushing me, almost pushing me back on the course. I'm like, I need to get off. So yeah, we just get right back in line, and they fix the cable throttle, and I go back and I qualify, and the next night, you go through it all through it again, another restless night, and go through it all again. And then I got the record the next day. So I like to say I did it the old fashioned way. I did it 3 times like everybody else. But yeah, it was, it was honestly just such a great feeling. I just remember driving home back to Salt Lake that week and just being like,
with your red hat on.
Like, that was amazing. Just going over and over, that ride, what it was like. I wish I would have, I probably have the least amount of seat time as anyone because it took, and it's just, they just had it down so good. So Unfortunately, it happened so quick, and I knew it was going to be a long time before I got it in again. So they told me to shut it down at the 4 mile, but I went 1 extra mile because I knew it was going to be a while. I knew it was going to be a while before I got back in that car, and it has been a while. But yeah, and I think I'm the only girl that's ever gotten in, I think I'm the fastest girl in a roadster, just a regular roadster. I could be wrong. Somebody could correct me. I know that nobody's ever gotten in a just a regular roadster. No girl has in the two clubs. So
Cool.
I like to hold on. You know, we like our little things like that.
Yeah.
So I like to hold on to.
Exactly. Take
that.
what we
I'm
can
the
get.
fastest girl on a roadster. I'll take it. I don't know if I'm really the fastest girl. I don't know. Maybe possibly. But the only girl on the two club that got it in a roadster. So.
We'll give you the title until someone corrects us.
That's right. So nobody correct me. I like to hold. No, I'm just kidding. I like that. But no, I had Shane Frutiger look into it. And he was, I asked him about it because somebody said it to me and I was like, huh. It was just like a year ago somebody said it to me and I was like, I've never thought about that. And I asked Shane if he knows, because he kind of does the history stuff for the two club, historical stuff. And he thinks that's correct. So we'll go with it.
Yeah. I would take it.
Yeah. It's fine.
Exactly.
So yeah, from there, and so then a couple years later, my dad gets into he was elected president of the Bonneville 200 Mile an Hour Club. And Kathy Olson, who had done the club for a long time prior to that, she had stepped down and she was ready to be done, which is understandable because it is so much work. And so I step in as the office manager for when my dad becomes president, which he was only president for a couple of years, I think, before Dan, maybe 4 years before Dan Warner became president. But it's a hard job. Things were changing a lot with, social media. It's just more than a one-person job almost. Because right now you and your mom kind of do it both together, the two parts.
Mm-hmm. My mom is more office manager at home base, and then I kind of take over when we get out to the Salt Flats.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot of work. I remember helping you when I was probably only like 10. And I remember going and helping you sort the merchandise and count the merchandise. And I remember helping you out a lot. And it was a lot of work. It is not a one-man job.
It is not. And Kathy did it. She did a great job. And I just think it just morphed into more and more as the club got bigger.
Exactly. Because the more members you get,
it just gets...
the more merchandise you have to order, the bigger the banquet gets.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot more moving pieces that go into it. So you doing it on your own was...
It was hard. And I loved it. I loved it. And I was just thinking before even that I have the cutest picture of when I got in the 200 Mile an Hour Club of you sitting on the car with me. Like you were so proud. Like you were just like, and anyways, it was just
because I was like,
you were always there, part of it with me.
Yeah. I mean, as a girl growing up on the Salt, like you look up to all the other females out on the Salt, and you were like my older sister. So I always was trekking around, following you, your little shadow.
I loved, and you always were helping me, and it was always so much fun. And so, but doing the office manager is kind of what really led me. I got to sit down with a lot of people. The best part of it to me was talking to people. And so I would, people like Otto Reisman, who was one of the original members of the Bonneville 200 Mile an Hour Club, would come and sit down and just talk with me when he came out. He'd hang out and he'd talk and he would tell me stories, not necessarily even always Salt stories, but just stories about his life, because he was from Milford, Utah, and
love Otto.
I have cousins in Milford, and we have cousins in Milford. But and even to hear his stories about the Salt were just awesome, and just to have that history of talking to him was amazing. And then I was thinking about other people as I was getting, like Bob Reset, which so sad that he passed away before I got to interview him. Yes. I really wanted to. And Earl Wooden, and he was amazing. He was just, and he had told me about his life, about how I think he worked kind of like in Hollywood a little bit in movies. Yeah.
I think I do remember him talking about that.
And he was like, he was amazing. I just loved it. And you know what I found, and I was cleaning out some stuff the other day, and I found a letter from him that he had wrote me when I was having a hard time. I was going through some hard things, and he had wrote this letter about, it was the sweetest thing. And I was thinking, I love these people. Like, these are my people. And just to find that letter just recently was amazing. And Betty Berkland would always she's Betty's still alive. We love you, Betty. She always would come down and sit down and talk to me, and just to have that history sitting there by you. And then the one person that would always sit by me and come talk to me was Monty Wolf, and he had so many cool stories. Yeah. But and that's kind of what like got me to, and Monty Wolf is really what got me to kind of start doing the podcast, is I just wanted to get people's stories. But now, I have, in the meantime, between that, when I was doing office manager, is I happened to find me a guy that likes the Salt Flats and who wants to race cars. And we started racing. He started coming out with me, and speaking of the devil, he just walked in as we started talking about him.
His ears were burning.
Yes, but he started coming out, and like I said, it's a real litmus test to take a guy out there.
Yep. And
he not only loved it, but started talking about wanting to build a race car. And I was like, oh yeah, this guy, this is the one for me.
Exactly.
But he had lived out there. He's lived in Salt Lake his whole life. And he's like, I remember my dad always saying, come out with me to the Salt, come out with me to the Salt. And he finally came out, but it took him a while. He was 30 years old by the time he came out. But yeah, so then we got married and had babies, and he was, I remember I had just babies. Nash and Wyatt are like 18 months apart, and they were just barely, I think Wyatt was barely born, and Shane's trying to build this race car, and you can listen to our podcast, me and Shane's podcast, and you can hear about some of the drama, but
yeah,
it was intense and it was hard. But he, luckily I'm a racer.
Yep.
And I understand, and I'm happy to have him be
exactly a part of it.
Yes. And wanting to be a part of it. And now we have a much better flow of things. And, we've kind of got through those rougher times, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I love it. And now I love that my boys are out there, and they're just,
they love it.
They love it. And they want to be a part of it. And they're having those same experiences I had as a kid, that they are enjoying their time out there, and just, yeah.
Do you think if there is salt in the future when they get older, are you hoping that they kind of take over the Corvette?
Yeah, or whatever other car we have that we're going to be building.
There could be different cars in the future.
Yeah, there might be different cars in the future. I know that the Corvette isn't the only car that we want to have necessarily, and I know Shane has dreams of going faster. And so...
Oh, no, he has the itch.
Yes, he has the itch. And, the Corvette, he only wants to go so fast in the Corvette. So I know that there's maybe some other cars in the future. But yeah, no, my boys are all on board, like, so far. That's they love it out there, and they like to be a part of it. And they have... both their grandparents are in the Bonneville 200-mile-an-hour club, both their grandfathers, and they have uncles on both sides of the family that are in the Bonneville 200-mile-an-hour club. And then their mom and dad are in the Bonneville 200-mile-an-hour club.
They have no out whatsoever.
You better get in the Bonneville 200-mile-an-hour club, or you will be a failure.
This is your destiny.
This is your destiny. Take hold of it.
Well, if it's not me that makes us a third-generation family, it falls on them.
There you go. Yes. Well, I guess they are third generation if they get in.
Yeah.
So they are considered, they would be third generation. So if, it goes when they're racing. But yeah, so hopefully we have salt to race on for them. And, that's another big part that I like doing this podcast, is I like to show what it takes to go out there, and just the human spirit, and just to do something that you see that you want to accomplish, and to accomplish it, and to take those steps forward. And just, there's so many things that have been accomplished out there that are just pure. I don't know. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, I have not quite gotten the words. I need to like write it down. Like the human spirit, just kind of the same kind of what it would take to climb Mount Everest. Just that same kind of determination. Having a goal. And it'd just be like, oh, Mount Everest is disappearing. What are we going to do? And here we are in the United States, in Utah, and we have just this unique, landscape that makes it possible to do this type of racing. It's diminished, so we can't do it as much or as fast as we've been able to. But people from all over the world want to come over here, and are thrilled by it and seek it, and we're just letting it go, and by we, I mean our government is letting it just.
I was gonna say we're
yes, but we're letting it just kind of go to waste where it needs, and there's just a solution to it. And yeah. Exactly. So hopefully maybe like, interviewing people and hearing their stories and seeing how important it is, it will be one piece that you can present to the people that can change it, saying, look at this, look at what
this is a historical landmark.
Yeah. And
we can't just let it go away.
Yeah. And look what is accomplished on it, and look what, so let's, yeah. Anyway. That's kind of a piece that I hope maybe will help with saving our salt.
Yes.
Yep, there's my story. Hopefully.
Well, what I was going to ask you, kind of backtracking a little bit, what do you remember when you were first driving? Like, do you remember your first memory of first getting in the car and first driving?
Like racing?
Like first time getting into the car, first time driving it, first time getting buckled in at the starting line.
Yes. I was very nervous, but it's nerve-wracking. People ask me how it is, and I'm like, it's every feeling in the world. It's exciting and scary and fun and terrifying and thrilling, and it's just like so many emotions going on at the same time that you are.
Do you remember the thoughts going through your head?
Yeah. Okay. So here's a story when I was racing. This is not the thought. When I was racing, I remember when I was getting ready to go for my record run, my dad pulls me aside and says, if you just, however you feel, I'm thinking my brothers probably didn't get this talk, but if you feel comfortable, just, if you feel uncomfortable at any time, just, you just take your foot off and you get off. And I just, and I was like, okay. And then your dad, Dallas, leans over to me and he's like, keep your foot in it.
Which is so funny because my dad to me told me what Poppy said to you. And then I think everyone else around me was like, just throttle it.
Yeah, just keep your foot in it. So yeah, that was funny. And I just, he was excited for me to get in the club, even though I was breaking his record, which is just part of it. It was fun. It was good times. I'd like to try it again. I'd like to see what it feels like again.
I know, because you don't realize it. And I mean, have you had people ask you before, like, what are your thoughts going through your head when you're driving?
Yeah. I remember thinking at one time, I'm going really fast. I do remember thinking that, like, oh, this is fast. But
I want to find someone that has an answer to that question.
Yeah, I think certain people are, if you ask Tom Birkland, he's probably could tell you all the things that are going through his head and all
he has math equations going through his head. And I just have like question marks driving down. Yeah. So yeah, I don't remember anything in particular. Like, there's certain things you're keeping your eye on. I remember like keeping my eye on those things, but at the same time, I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going fast.
I'm going really fast. So
what, besides getting into the club, what is your favorite memory out on the salt? It could have been from like when you were in elementary school till like last year.
Oh, my favorite memories. You know what? When Shane got into the 2 Club, it was a really good memory because my boys were out there, and it was just like, you took a really great picture where we're all hugging and it was just fun. I got to give him his red hat when he got in. Sorry, I'm like
getting emotional.
Yeah, I got to give him his red hat when he got in, and it was a really, really good memory.
Yeah.
I'm glad I got that memory of us at that time.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's a good one. Your husband getting in.
Yeah. But I reminded him I was still faster than him.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
And he knows that.
He does. I think
And
that's
now
why he
that
wants to go faster.
You're like, actually, you drove last. So when we get this new
I'm
car,
next.
I'm next.
That's right.
You're
That's
welcome.
how it should go. Thank you. So stay tuned for my 300 mile an hour.
And
chat.
I'll give you your blue hat.
Yeah, maybe. maybe. So, yeah.
Well, cool. There were a lot of things that I learned too, but I feel like I was excited to interview you because a lot of your memories are the same as mine.
Mhm.
Because, I mean, you've been out there since I have been out there. And so it's fun to hear kind of your stories before I was around.
Yeah. Yeah. What's your favorite memory out there?
Oh, man. That's a hard one. Oh, of course I can. My favorite memory was obviously when the Henry Ford Museum was out there.
Mm-hmm.
And they were filming me for the Henry Ford Museum.
Yeah.
And,
Nice.
talking to our family, and I got to tell them. And it was one of those other things where it's a big media coverage to kind of talk about the salt and the restoration of the salt and what it's all about. And I even remember when they were interviewing me, what did they say? I can't even remember what they asked me. But it essentially was, what is this all about? And I just remember immediately started crying in the interview as they're recording me. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. But you just tear up because it's all about your family out there. It's all about, there were people out there working in the pitch black middle of the night to make sure our car was running so that I could get all the filming done for the museum. And that's what it's all about. It's all about, obviously it's about breaking records, but it's also about who's out there with you and what you're accomplishing. So you all have one goal in mind.
Yeah. Go fast, be safe.
Yep.
And you're in the Ford Museum, so if you ever, where's that at?
It's right outside of Detroit, Michigan.
So if you ever go, you'll see pictures. Sit and watch the little video.
Yeah.
Megan's in it.
I'm in it. It's a lot of, coverage of the Salt Flats, and there's other types of racing that they have in the video too. I'm just a little plug in there, but the Henry Ford Museum has a whole section of Salt Flats land speed racing. So I need to go. We need to go. We need to do a family trip out there or something. And if anyone's near Detroit, Michigan, definitely go check it out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you should go check. I'd like to check it out. I've seen the video though.
The whole thing?
No, just the part with you in it.
Yeah. Well, I think there's more.
Who cares about the rest?
I think there's more to it too. That was a little advertising clip. But yeah, it was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun.
Yep. Well, come out and say hi to Megan. She'll be working the 2 Club booth. Come buy a shirt at the Save the Salt. Thank you so much for listening to this Land Speed Legends episode, and please consider liking, sharing, and giving it a review. Also, don't forget to go and like my Facebook and Instagram pages under Land Speed Legends. Thanks again.
Thanks for listening to Land Speed Legends. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. In the meantime, keep up with the show on Facebook and Instagram under Land Speed Legends. Until next time.